Vibrations and frequencies. Vibrations and frequencies. So it's very common in the modern healing field to hear these terms like, well, you got to make sure you're vibrating on the right frequency, right? So they say, um, you need to make sure you're vibrating on a higher frequency. And then they'll say, well, that's a low vibration way of thinking or way of feeling. You want to be on the high vibration way of thinking and feeling. And so, what I'm going to do is kind of dissect this a little bit and take it apart so you can understand what they're talking about and what here actually is scientific and that we can take with us, and what here could help us in our healing journey, and what, if anything, maybe we might want to leave behind, because sometimes these things are have a sordid history, right? So it's good to actually understand what it is we're talking about with this vibrating on different frequencies. So while vibrating on different frequencies is often used metaphorically in spiritual circles, some aspects do align with scientific principles. For instance, in quantum mechanics and vibrations, everything in the universe is made of energy. Uh, and so at a fundamental level, you have atoms and subatomic particles that are constantly in motion, meaning matter technically vibrates. It is technically true that matter vibrates. You have your brain waves and you have frequencies. So the human brain produces electromagnetic waves, such as alpha waves, beta waves, theta waves, delta waves, and that correlates with different states of consciousness, such as calmness, alertness, deep sleep, right? So we have matter that really does actually vibrate. Then you have brain waves that really do exist, and there's different frequencies of waves in your brain waves. That is all scientific fact. Then there's your emotional states. Science supports the idea that emotions affect the body's energy. Stress releases cortisol, which negatively impacts health, while positive emotions such as gratitude can improve physical and mental well-being. So all of that is scientific. Then we have to look at law of attraction. Um, the idea of law of attraction is um, anything that you experience or that happens to you is because you attracted it. So it was really based on your mindset that you are now experiencing that. Has some aspects that are scientific, such as the reticular activating system is the brain filtering information based on what we focus on. So if I focus on, for instance, you ever get a new car and then you start to see that car on the road all the time, whatever the brain focuses on, you see more of that. If you're in a mode of looking for a certain type of person, you tend to see more of those types of people, and so on. So if we focus on positive goals, then we'll become more likely to notice and act on opportunities and similar ideas to what it was that we were focusing on. And that very much feels like we're attracting those good things. So it's very true. It's very scientific that what you focus on, you see more of it, and you become more of it, and you produce more of it. Um, there's also mirror neurons and emotional cohesion, if you will. So when we interact with others, we subconsciously pick up and reflect on their emotional states. So when you are talking to a person, you're kind of picking up their body language, right? You're picking up their energy in the sense of how they're acting, how they're feeling. And that supports the idea that we're vibrating at similar frequencies, if that makes sense. Like he raised the vibration of the room, right? He came in and he was animated. He was like, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, how's everybody going?" He was happy, he was up, and that made us feel like it raised the vibration of the room. But There are some aspects of the vibration and the frequencies and the law of manifestation that are out of harmony with science. Also, you may have heard of shadow work. So we're going to take a look at that aspect as well, the concept of shadow work. So where are we getting out of harmony with science when it comes to these things? And does it really matter because aren't these things like bigger and better and smarter than science anyway? Well, let's consider when it comes to scientific analysis, there is no measurable spiritual frequencies. It doesn't mean spiritual frequencies don't exist, but there's no empirical evidence that emotions or consciousness have a specific vibrational frequency that can be measured in hertz. So there's no doubt that love is a different frequency than fear, but we have no way of actually physically measuring that and then saying, yeah, love vibrates on this frequency and then fear vibrates on this frequency. At this time, we just don't have that. And there's not enough data to like show specifically what's vibrating on what frequency. And if those emotions actually vibrate themselves anyway, because they are emotions, right? Which are a combination of your chemicals and your thoughts, which is energy. It's electrical, right? Because your thoughts are electrical impulses happening in the brain. So while everything has a physical vibration, the idea that love vibrates at one frequency and fear at another is more metaphorical, more rather than measurable phenomena. Does that make sense? So when we say, oh, he vibrated different, he brought the vibration up, we'd have to take that kind of with a grain of salt. It's metaphorical. We don't have like an actual way of like proving that or measuring the frequency in the room before he walked in, if that makes sense. Nothing wrong with saying that. You just got to kind of understand that that's a metaphor, right? When it comes to law of attraction, what we've done now is we've oversimplified the benefits of positive thinking. Positive thinking influences behavior, it influences perception, but it does not directly alter reality in a mystical way. Positive thinking does not directly alter reality in a mystical way. What you focus your mind on is very powerful and it will grow. But we need to understand that scientifically it requires effort on your part. When you break down law of attraction to its base new age concept, there's a new age pseudoscience there and a spiritual concept that everything that you experience is because you attracted it. That is a very dangerous concept because some people experience abuse. Some people were born into difficult or unfair situations, poverty. They may have been born into a war-torn situation. There's economic, social factors, genetic factors involved. To say that you must have attracted that lacks empathy, it lacks nuance to the way the universe actually works. So if I got attacked on my way to my car, it's not because I attracted it. I can assure you, I'm a very forward thinking, positive thinking, self empowered person, and bad things can still happen to me or anyone, right? So we have to kind of take things and measure them properly. And this is, unfortunately, this is the actual basis of the teaching of law of manifestation. The basis is what I just named. It's the belief that everything that happens to you is because you created that. You made it happen with having the mindset that attracted it. That is not accurate. All of us here know that. All of us here know that we do not control the entire universe with our thinking. We are in the universe. We have a lot of control. We have a lot of influence. I want you to focus on your influence. And that's what's great about the law of attraction and how it's grown in popularity. And people are like, oh, yeah, that's so true. It's so true that because I manifested this and that. Yeah, you did. But please understand the actual basis is based in pseudoscience and new age, and it's not sound. The actual basis is not sound. What we've built it into is beautiful. We're like, hey, man, we got the power. We speak things into existence. And I wanted this to happen. I saw it and I made it come true. And that's beautiful. That's beautiful because you can make things come true because you can change your life and your experience and you are very powerful, very powerful. We're made to be little creators. We're creative beings. So I want you to tap into that power. But I'm also not going to miseducate you and not let you know where this stuff actually comes from and what this stuff actually is. We need to understand what's real, what's metaphorical, and that's why when you're working with me, you don't hear me say a lot of vibrating on frequency and the manifest. You don't hear a lot of that type of language. That's because I understand where these concepts actually came from. Does it mean there's not power in thoughts and words? Absolutely not. There is so much power in thoughts and words. Absolute power. Words carry ideas. Ideas are energy. That is absolute truth. And when we look at energy metaphorically as like electricity, positive, negative charges, isn't it true that words or ideas have positive and negative charges? They can either build us up or tear us down. Isn't that true? That's absolute facts. That is absolute facts. Words carry thoughts. Thoughts are positive, negative energy. When someone brings you negative energy, you may need to cut them off, cut them out, cut them back. So reading text messages from a toxic person, do not proceed. Why? Because those words have energy. You don't want to read things that are going to bring you down, are going to tear you down, are going to tear you off of your positive spiritual beliefs, your positive self concept. Even if you're healthy, even if you're healed, you still don't do that. That's how you get healthy and healed, and that's how you stay healthy and healed. We don't take in anything negative that is toxic for us. That's how you stay healed. I want that to sink. I'm speaking as myself. If someone sent me, if I get bipolar mom, narcissistic mom wants to send me a paragraph about why I'm a terrible this or that, it's block and delete. You will block your own mother? Yes. It doesn't matter who they are. Doesn't matter. I will not take in negativity. What if it's your husband, your wife? When someone's coming at you with more than one or two constructive criticisms, they're going into three, four, five, six, and you don't do this and you don't do that. You got to cut them short. You have to cut them short. Why? Because you need to protect your psyche. And your psyche contains the ego, the sense of self. The sense of self needs to be preserved in order for you to be healthy. I cannot allow someone to tear down my ego, my sense of self. That will lead me into disrepair. And here's a lack of self-love person. What if it's true? You think I need to hear 27 things about myself that are negative but true? No, I don't. I can only work on one or two things at a time. So therefore, we will not be accepting someone going past one or two things when they get into three, four, five, and six. I don't care if they're dead on 100% true. We still have to stop, say, I've heard enough. Thank you. I'm going to take the one or two, even if it's true. I'm going to take the one or two. I'm going to work on that. When you sit there and allow all that negativity to come at you, that is a lack of self-love, a lack of self-protection. For instance, you wouldn't allow a little girl or a little boy, respectively, that you're caring for to sit there and receive all of that criticism. Now, would you? Would you say, yeah, sit here and take this 27 different points, 16 different points about why you're terrible? No, it's not helpful. You wouldn't talk to them like that. You wouldn't encourage them to listen to that because we know we need to protect the ego of the child. So, how do we talk to the child? Positive, effusive, positive energy. Isn't that how you talk to a child? How do you talk to a child? Aren't you like, oh, this picture is so good. This is so nice. Thank you so much. Wow, what's this? And what's that supposed to be? Ooh, right? You could be anything you want to be, absolutely anything you want. Why do we talk to a child with all that effusive love and encouragement? Even if that's not even the way we feel, why do we talk to a child like that? Because we are building its ego, we are protecting its sense of self. Does that make sense? So that's how you're supposed to talk to yourself. Build your ego, protect your sense of self. The moment you are around a person and they don't talk to you that way, or they don't even act toward you that way, cut them off. Do you know if I walked into a party or a get together gathering with like some of my friends and they acted like cold toward me, I would just leave. No, I wouldn't. You understand? You just turn around, just walk right back out of the door. Like no hard feelings. I wouldn't say any harsh words. It would just be like, oh, the energy isn't building up the sense of self here. It's not aligning. The energy isn't aligning, right? Metaphorically, the vibration isn't at the level where I want it to be. So what do? Scoot. When I get back home by myself, the vibration is going to be right. The energy is going to be right. Making sense? So yeah, words have power. Ideas have power. We got to acknowledge that. So do things vibrate at a molecular level? Absolutely. Yep. In physics, it vibrates at a molecular level. That's right. Does emotional states affect our health? Absolutely. Do thoughts and perceptions affect our health and our reality? It shapes your whole reality. Your perception shapes your whole reality. The way you perceive things is the way you will think, and the way you think will influence the way that you act, and the way you act will influence the way other people treat you and act towards you. Law of attraction at its actual base, not scientific. Not scientific. Spiritually energy transfer. I'm just that person had energy and then they transferred their energy into me. Not scientific. Not scientific. Raising vibrations, taking it into occultism, divination, all this stuff, non-scientific and morally corrupt for some of us. So the concepts sometimes have good things about them, but sometimes the base, if you go back to the history of it, you'll find that there's issues. And it's the same thing with shadow work. There's really good concepts in shadow work, but we need to understand what it really is to understand what the problem is with it. So, if you're familiar with shadow work, it's another new age. It's been adopted by the New Age community, but it's actually based originally on Carl Jung's work. He's a Swiss psychiatrist and a psychoanalyst, and he introduced this idea of a shadow self. So, according to Jung, the shadow self consists of the parts of our personality that we repress, deny, hide, because they're socially or morally unacceptable. So Jung says that you have a shadow self, and it's part of your personality that you hide because it's not socially or morally acceptable. This is where I have a problem with this work, and I'll elaborate. But there's a lot of good things about shadow work as well that I want to acknowledge. The goal is to bring these unconscious aspects to awareness, integrate them, and achieve psychological wellness. Um, that is good. It's good to integrate ourselves, our parts of ourselves, into a whole. For instance, many trauma survivors have like a self-protective part of themselves, the part that's strong, and then the softer part of themselves, but it seems more weak. And they split so that they have these two parts. And then they kind of go to the extreme where they're acting more this way and acting more that way at another time. So that may have happened to some of you. In this way, we need to integrate these parts of the self. Okay, that strong part of the self that it has the ability to stand up, but also that soft part of the self. We need to integrate them so that you're a combination of soft when you need to be and strong when you need to be. Does that make sense? So integration is good. It's a very big part of healing. However, the issue I have with Carl Jung's work in shadow work is it is incorrect that we have a shadow. Again, according to his work, the shadow self is a part of your psyche that you have to deny and repress because it's morally unacceptable or socially unacceptable. This would include ideas such as anger, jealousy, pride, selfishness, or it could have trauma introduced fears and beliefs. That is an incorrect analysis of what we are as humans. Not all of us have a shadow self that's full of anger, jealousy, pride, selfishness, or something like that. That's incorrect. That implies that we all have these personality traits and that we're repressing them. That's incorrect. Some of us go through a healing process or a spiritual process by which we learn to reprocess um, lower vibrational or fleshly or immoral thoughts, desires, what could be potentially personality traits. We have a way of processing our emotions so that we're not dwelling in or staying in unhelpful emotions. That is different than repressing. To repress means to suppress, to hold down, to hold back. It means to be untrue so that you're holding back. So repressing anger would be to say, I feel this anger, but I'm going to act like I don't feel the anger, but I do feel the anger. But I'm not going to show it. That's repression. I don't encourage repression. What I encourage is reprocessing. Reprocessing is to say, I feel the anger, but anger is not helpful for me in this situation. So, what can I do with this anger? Why do I have this anger? What am I really feeling beneath the anger, which is a secondary emotion? What's the base emotion? Oh, well, I feel sad. Why do I feel sad? Because something I had that was valuable to me got taken away. Okay, do I have any action I can take in this situation? No, not really. There's no action that's gonna make them give it back to me. So then my anger is not going to be helpful in this situation. I'm not in a life or death situation where I need to protect a loved one. So the anger is not going to be good for me. So I'm really dealing with sadness. Okay, very good. So what can I do in order to mitigate this sadness? Well, I have to focus on either acceptance or personal power. With personal power, I can focus on what I can do, which is go and buy another one. With acceptance, radical acceptance, I can say, well, that's okay. I didn't need that thing. It was a material possession. Now, all of a sudden, how do I feel? Less sad. Good. Do I feel angry anymore? Well, no. Good. Did I repress my anger? No. I reprocessed it. I reprocessed it. So it's the same thing. Even if we had a past or even current personality trait such as jealousy, we can reprocess situations so that we are not in jealousy. Oh, a guy got a job that I wanted, right? My colleague got the position I wanted. Am I jealous? Well, some of us might feel jealous, or we may have in the past felt jealous about something like that. Does that mean I need to repress this emotion? No, I don't have to repress the jealousy. What I need to do is reprocess the situation so that I'm not in jealousy, which is a toxic emotion, right? It's a toxic trait. Okay, good. So what do I do to reprocess? Well, I look at the situation and change my perspective on it. Jealousy is me being angry at him, me blaming him, saying bad things about him, tearing him down as a result of his success. So instead, I change that around to, well, I still like this guy and I can still appreciate him. In fact, he could be a mentor to me. I can learn from him. Or I could look at the situation as being an inspiration. I can feel happy for him. I can celebrate with him. I can view this as an opportunity for me to improve. I can see this as proof that it's possible to get the things we want. So that is reprocessing. The point there being that we don't have to suppress these things and we don't need to integrate these things because they've been suppressed. We can reprocess things that are toxic, such as anger, jealousy, selfish pride, selfishness, things like that. So instead of doing the shadow work of trying to go back and find these repressed things that may actually be toxic to integrate something that's toxic, it's better to identify if something's toxic and reprocess the emotion or the situation and adopt healthy and beneficial beliefs, biases, and behaviors. If you'd like to learn more about how to do that, I encourage you to enroll in my healing course. It is on my website. It's called Healing School. And inside the Healing School are multiple courses that are taught by me, including Adapt, the Adapt Healing course, and the Boundaries School, the 12 Laws of Healing and Happiness, and so on. So you can enroll in that on my website.